apparently she went and told on me to Kody. And Cody's like, well, you were so mean to Robin about blah, blah, blah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we are talking about Sister Wives, Season 19, Episode 8. It is titled A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. I am putting out this video a little bit later than I normally do. My kids were sick earlier this week. I had some dental work done, so it just kind of got put on the back burner, but I figure better late than never. So let's go ahead and talk about this episode. The show starts out at Christine's house. We find out that some of her kids had expressed to her that they miss the traditions that she used to do, or they used to all do when they were still one family. So Christine is trying to do some of those old Christmas traditions again. In this episode, she is trying to make a meal that Janelle used to make. Now everyone is there except Gwendolyn, and David is going to be coming over. And the reason I bring up the fact that Gwen is not there is because Gwen and Peyton are the only two of Christine's kids that have not yet met David. So Peyton is going to be meeting David for the first time. During a confessional, Christine says that some of her kids are good with David, some of the kids aren't. My thing is, when you hear the kids talking about David and Christine dating, it doesn't seem to actually be an issue with David. It seems to be an issue with how fast the whole thing is going. I just don't think these kids are ready for that yet, but Christine is. She is really excited. She ends up sharing that they've already set a wedding date and they've already picked out the venue, even though they're not engaged yet.
Because October is crazy in Moab. So yes, we are getting married. We have a wedding date, but we're not engaged yet.
So everyone is at Christine's house. That includes McKelty and Tony. Tony asks if David has actually went to Christine's dad to get his blessing about this marriage, and we find out that David has already done that. David has already talked to Christine's dad, and he said yes. So even though they're not engaged yet, it does seem like they're ready to move forward, even if the kids think it's happening quickly. I know in the comment section on my videos, a lot of you will talk about how her age plays a role in this. And when you're 50, you're just not going to move as slowly as you would when you're younger. So there's been a lot of people kind of defending her moving fast with David. I have no opinion on it. The only thing I can kind of say is if Christine's happy and David's happy and the kids like him, so be it. I also think it's worth mentioning that Christine grew up in a world where people had short courtships. So to her, this probably isn't even that big of a deal, where for most of us, this seems very fast. I just think to her, it's not that big of an issue. Now, after this, Christine tells a story about how she was upset that David didn't kiss her on their second date. They had went to see The Little Mermaid, and the song Kiss the Girl came on. We know that song. She thought that was the perfect moment for him to kiss her, and he didn't. David defends himself and said he was going to be a gentleman, and, it wasn't the right time for that to happen. Listen, I like Christine, and I know she was deprived of romance, but I have to admit, some of the PDA and some of these stories are a little over the top for me, but that's just me. I know a lot of us are excited that she has found love, but you can't blame the guy on a second date. Maybe he just wasn't comfortable kissing her yet. So this dinner they're having is going well. The kids seem to be getting along with David, so it's all good. But I do have to tell you, it must seem very weird to them because, just a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, life with their mom and dad was so different. A lot of her kids are adults, so they're out of the house, right? But Christine's living in Flagstaff with Truly, and we know that Kody does not go over to see them very often. So they didn't get to do things like this. And now here their mom is with a new partner, and they are affectionate with each other, and everyone's laughing and getting along, and they're spending more time together. This must feel like night and day to them. Now, as this is all happening, TLC gives us a clip of Kody talking about Christine leaving.
It was very clear to me that Christine's whole goal in leaving me was to find her soulmate.
Yeah, I just don't think that was her goal. I think her goal was to get away from an unhealthy relationship with a person who treated her badly and their children badly. I don't think Christine wanted to leave her marriage. I think she wanted her marriage to be good. So I just don't think that was her goal. But it's interesting to watch Kody sit and make up excuses and try to justify everything that happened in a way that doesn't make him look as awful as he really is. So the part at Christine's house comes to an end and it switches over to Kody and Robin's house, and we find out that it is Kody's 55th birthday. And like many people, this is making Kody reflect on his life, and he is thinking about his values and what his vision used to be for his life. And he talks about how he used to really focus on his children. He thought in the future his kids would all be living around him. And you know what? If you think back to who Kody used to be a long time ago, I think that's true. There was a time that Kody seemed to be a great dad. Peyton talks about it. Gwendolyn talks about it. The Brown kids acknowledge that Kody used to be a good dad, but something has changed, and Kody seems to acknowledge it here as well. I think he realizes that he needs to work on these relationships, or at least that's what it sounds like when he's talking here. I'm going to put a clip in of Kody talking about what his new goal is.
And I have, with God, in covenant form, reasserted myself to, from here on out, be the loving father and the dad that has always given me purpose in my life.
When I was watching that, at first I was like, look, he finally realizes that he has been a crappy dad. And even though he can't fix his marriages, at least he can fix the relationships with the kids. And he realizes he's going to have to do the work. And he misses being the dad that he used to be. But then I realized, number one, his words and his actions usually don't match. So why would it be any different this time? And thanks to social media, I know that probably doesn't happen. He probably doesn't suddenly become a great dad to his kids. So, we just got a lot of talk from Kody right there. After this, the show flips over to Christine and David. They are out ring shopping. Christine is absolutely loving it. There's a bit of reflecting on what her wedding was like with Kody and what their rings were like, but really there's not that much to mention in that part. You guys can let me know down in the comments if there's anything you noticed or anything you thought that was noteworthy. But I just feel like I like Christine and David, but we already know what happens, right? We already watched the wedding special, so it's cute to watch, but there's just not that much to say about it. Finally, the show switches over to Janelle, and I have to admit I was really happy to see her on the show because, again, as much as I like David and Christine, I know what happens there, and there's really nothing happening with Kody. He just says bizarre stuff. Unfortunately, that's sort of what ends up happening with Janelle, though. Kody just says stuff to her that it was so weird. Basically, they sit down to have this meeting because Janelle says that the communication is broken down. I'm assuming you guys have watched it. You know what happens. Did you notice how she sat down to talk to him, and she says, "Are you interested in buying me out?" He says, "Wait a second," you jump to the end. And then he tries to say that they haven't had any discussions about where their relationship is and what's going on with them. Janelle has made it perfectly clear they're not talking anymore. She actually says during a confessional that Kody hasn't been in her house in 2 years. Now, I don't know if that means he hasn't stayed overnight or if he literally hasn't been in her house. I do think we've seen him over there. So I think she means staying overnight. But come on. If he hasn't stayed overnight, that's his wife. He hasn't been staying with her for 2 years. That's craziness. I'm actually surprised it wasn't longer. But anyway, Kody does this thing where he acts like he doesn't know where their relationship is. And it's wild to me. It's absolutely crazy. And he did it to Meri this season as well. He's like, "I really don't know where things are with Meri." And I'm like, are you kidding me? Ask any viewer of the show. We know where things are with Meri. It's over. We saw that in the previous season. What do you mean you don't know? And he does that to Janelle. But then during a confessional, he says this.
Janelle and I talking about reconciliation is a pipe dream from both of us.
I don't know what they were doing when they were editing this show. I don't know if Kody just doesn't realize how he sounded during that scene, and maybe when he was talking about it in the confessional, it just didn't match up. But basically, it sounded like they were sitting down and he wanted them to talk about reconciliation, but then it goes to confessionals. And when they're doing the confessionals, he's saying, you know, this is a pipe dream. This is a fake discussion. And I'm like, you're the only person having it. Janelle is sitting there saying, do you want to buy me out? She is done. She's not talking to you anymore. That relationship is over. And she tells him that to his face. She is so clear about the fact that it is over. And then he says this.
I think both of us, I'm telling you my heart's truth, don't want to be the one that's accountable for breaking up.
I do have to admit that I love the fact that he said, I'm telling you my heart's truth. Dude, your heart is delusional. Janelle is telling you straightforward, she doesn't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. She is done. She wants you to buy her out when it comes to the property. She doesn't want to live there anymore. But Kody's like, neither one of us want to be accountable for ending the relationship. And it's like, I don't think that's the case at all. For some reason, you're just not hearing anything that she is saying to you. But that's really what Kody does to anyone who's saying something that he doesn't want to hear. While they're talking, Robin is brought up, as well as the issue of little kids. We know that Kody really likes to focus on the ones that are tender-hearted, so that is brought up. Janelle says, it seems like you were always focused more on Robin's house. Kody asks if there's too much of a generational difference there. Janelle says there is. They just don't have that much in common. But then things start to get a little bit more heated when an issue is brought up that occurred between Janelle and Robin. Janelle says that she'd had this conversation with Robin during the time period when Robin was buying a house, and Janelle just asked her to make sure not to buy something that was going to eat up all of their resources. Janelle said she thought the conversation went well, but then she found out that Robin went and told Kody, and she got in trouble for being mean to Robin. During a confessional, Robin defends herself. She says that that is not at all what happened. The conversation was fine. I'm going to put in a clip here of Robin talking about it.
I didn't tattle on Janelle. I just told Kody that Janelle and I were in agreement about not buying my home. And then it turned into some big, huge thing. And I got into trouble with Janelle.
You guys can let me know down below what you thought about that part of the show. I know back when Gwendolyn was still on Patreon, she talked about the fact that it felt like Robin, when she entered the family, was looking for reasons to be the victim, or looking for reasons that her kids were the victims of things that the other children had said. Gwendolyn mentioned that sometimes it felt like their words were twisted. They would say something and they wouldn't mean it in a bad way, but Robin would say that they meant it in a bad way. So I just think it's completely possible that the way Janelle is telling it is the truth. And I try to be fair, because communicating in a family this size would have to be difficult. But it just seems like the roles they all played, I believe Janelle in this case. Most of this is told during a confessional, or during two confessionals. We have Robin and Janelle telling their sides of the story, but it's also happening at the table with Janelle and Kody. When Kody hears this, and when this is brought up, he immediately shuts it down. He says they are trying to heal things. They're trying to work on things. Don't bring this up. And Janelle basically says, if we can't talk about it, it's over. How can she be in a relationship with someone that she can't talk to them about certain things? Specifically things that involve their relationship, his relationship with the other wife. But this is exactly who Kody is. There's really nothing new happening here. After Kody shuts down that conversation, it switches over to Meri. We find out it is her birthday, and that carriage house that she has on her property, it was being remodeled, and it's finally finished. So she is going to get to see it as sort of a birthday present, right? It's all done. It's all decorated. Jen and Blair are there with her. It's very nice. It's going to be a nice place for her to work and for her to work out. She has a space. She can go do some yoga. There were some weights up there. It's just really a cute little place. I'm going to put in a clip here of Meri talking about where she is in her life now.
I'm going to have my own table, and the people who want to be with me will be in my life. And I am so happy about the life that I'm creating.
I'm so glad that Meri has friends that support her, because it really does feel like outside of that, she doesn't have some support from within the family. And I understand not everyone likes Meri. Meri has done stuff she shouldn't have done. I'm just saying it's good that she has friends to help her now that she has left. She also looked amazing. I thought she looked great in the confessionals. She looked happy when she was with her friends. It was nice to see what was going on with her. It switches back over to Janelle and Kody after Meri, and they are still at that restaurant talking. Janelle is there to talk about the property, but Kody is doing a good job of sort of diverting her attention. They had just finished talking about that conversation with Robin, and Kody had shut that down. He didn't want to discuss that anymore. And Janelle is telling him, this is why it won't work. There's a bias here. I can't tell you how I feel about things. And Kody does what he normally does. He doesn't want to hear it. He tells her that she's wrong, that she can talk about her feelings with him, but it's obvious that that isn't true. During a confessional, Kody says the primary focus, if they reconciled, would be on bringing the family back together. So this isn't a situation where he's madly in love with Janelle and wanting it to work out. He is trying to get back in with his children. It isn't going to work. I can't believe Kody is even bringing it up again. It's funny though, Janelle tells him she doesn't even think of them as being married anymore. It's only the spiritual part of them that she still feels is connected. So she wants to get a release like Meri has done. But she doesn't really know how to go about doing it. So it looks like maybe in the next episode, we're going to see Meri and Janelle talking. Actually, it doesn't look like maybe. We are going to see them talking in the next episode. So she is ready to get that release. But Janelle says something interesting in a confessional. She says if they were really heartbroken, they would be more stressed. They would be trying harder. They're not heartbroken. This is really just about Kody's ego. She also says during a confessional that Kody is a failure, or that's how he would be viewed because he only has one wife left. And she's right. I do think most of this is about his ego. Kody can't let go because he wanted things to be a certain way. He liked having everyone centered around him, and then here we are, no one's left. He doesn't even have a relationship with his kids. So I am with Janelle on this 100%. Kody is not really wanting to work things out with her, and during the confessional he seems to agree with that. He's not really interested in pursuing a relationship, a real loving relationship with Janelle. As the show is winding down, Janelle tells Kody that she contacted the attorney that he had contacted several years ago. She was just trying to figure out what they could do with this property. And Kody and her discussing it, she says, you could buy me out, or I could go out there and live. And so they're going back and forth, but you can tell when she brings up the fact that she contacted the attorney, this just triggers something in Kody, and he gets angry. And it reminds me of the Kody that we witnessed maybe 3 seasons ago, when he was very, very mad at Christine for leaving. And I think we saw him angry just about all the time on the show. I'm picking up on that during this part. Listen to what he says about Janelle.
I think Janelle would do anything she could to screw me, so she's afraid I'll try to screw her.
It's funny to hear him say that because, in my opinion, Janelle is probably the most fair person on the show. She wants people to get what is owed to them and what they deserve. And I don't think Janelle is going to go out of her way to take something from Kody and Robin unless they owe it to someone else. So I just thought it was funny to hear Kody say that.
And so where I'm at is I'm bitter. and I don't care.
So I have Kody's face up on the screen. He has his angry smile on. It's just anytime he's called out for not being fair with the wives, anytime someone brings up something with Robin, anytime someone wants to get what is actually owed to them and it isn't Robin, he gets angry and he really shows the worst side of himself. The show basically wraps up after that. You know, Janelle tells him about the attorney, says the attorney would like to sit down with both of them since he's already met with Kody, but that is it. The conversation goes nowhere. She doesn't get any answers from Kody about what his plans are regarding Coyote Pass. It was just a worthless meeting, in my opinion. The anger we see during the confessionals when he's talking about the property and Janelle and Robin is the anger that's going to keep Kody from having a good relationship with his kids. He's got to figure out how to not be that person, and I just don't know if he can do it. But that is it. You guys can let me know down in the comments what you thought of this episode. If you liked the video, I hope you will click like and subscribe and come back next week as we talk more about Sister Wives.